and welcome to today's class. So we have a few series running alongside one another at the moment, and thank you for bearing with me on my irregular upload schedule. I tend to record the silent series whilst baby's napping and then I've got a few backlogged which I need a little bit of time to edit and upload. So thank you for your patience and bearing with me. Today's episode is part of a new series, which is a tarot series. So essentially, we're just pulling a card, or maybe a few, just to see what feels right. And that will help us find our theme of what we need today in today's practice. So the idea is we shuffle. Oh. Okay, so this one turned upwards, so we'll take that one. These ones fell down, so we'll stack them back in. And once we've found a card or a few cards that feels right, we can begin to build the structure of today's session. Ooh, and one more. Okay, so we have two. Teresa and Kuan Yin. Okay, so I reckon that will be enough for today's. So, oh, I love it. This one, Kuan Yin, her name is literally got the word yin in, so we'll have to do some yin in today's session. The goddess of compassion. I recognize suffering in order to release it. Curiosity breeds compassion. Perfect. That could not be more perfect for describing a yin practice. So because of the word compassion, we're not only going to grab our bolster, but we can also grab maybe a little blanket just to make the session feel a bit more restorative, a bit more compassionate for the body. This says, Dakini, the enlightened feminine. My gut instinct is wise beyond reason. I trust my intuition to guide me. Okay, so we'll rely heavily on our own intuition. I'll be here guiding the session, but listen to yourself the whole way through. Listen to your own body. If you want to just freestyle for a bit, then do so. Okay, and Teresa of Avila, Our Lady of the Interior Life. I trust the answers I find within me. I know the presence of love is real. Lovely. So I think that means we need a long meditation at the end, because to find the answers within, we always need a little bit of silence and stillness. I know the presence of love is real. Okay. And then I'm thinking we just open the book at a random point. You can see I've already been reading this, I've bookmarked one. Akilanda, the goddess of never not broken. Love it. Everything happens for my liberation. I choose to become only more love. So she's the indestructible energy that embraces change. She knows that everything is conspiring to transform her into only more love and light. She's an elusive goddess from Hindu mythology. In Sanskrit, her name Ishvari means female power or goddess. And Akilanda means never not broken. Lovely. I love that. Never not broken. She shows us where our energy is trapped. Yin. Gosh, I was thinking this could be a bit of yin and yang, but it might just have to be yin because all the all the themes are just talking about yin, yin, yin. She whispers the liberation we will experience once we let ourselves break open and allow the new expression of ourselves to come blazing through. So allowing, again, yin, that acceptance and allowing of just what is to be. She reminds us that we always have the power to choose, to see every event as yet another opportunity to become more light and to become more of the radiant soul we are here to be. Lovely. So we're going to take her intention. Everything happens for my liberation. I choose to become only more love. And the little meditation that it suggests here is, what heartbreak can I see now as an opportunity to expand? Which is interesting because in our Kuan Yin card, it says, I recognize suffering in order to release it. Curiosity breeds compassion. So there's two that link to heartbreak and suffering. And how can we use that as an opportunity to expand? How can we recognize it and become curious about it? And that will breed more compassion. I choose to become only more love. There's a lot of linking here. Okay, amazing. So we have our themes. I'm just going to set them up in front of me. And we'll infuse them into our yoga practice. So when we're feeling ready, we're going to get started. As we're focusing a lot on love and compassion, we are definitely going to focus on restorative practice, showing the body as much love and compassion as we can. I'm going to place a blanket over my bolster just to make it even more comforting, even more lovely. We're going to draw our hips, if you feel comfortable, to the base of your bolster, or if you only have a pillow, that's fine as well. Knees come wide, feet come together, and we gently relax our body over the bolster. Now, even though many of the cards mention compassion, we're going to focus a little bit on that discipline, on the intensity as well, as they also mentioned suffering. Obviously, we don't want our body to be suffering in the end, but we do want to tap into areas that might be holding tension. We don't want to shy away from intensity. Draw your knees as wide as you feel comfortable with. If it feels right for you to do so, you might even draw the shins a little bit wider. You might stay in down face hero. Listen to your body. Allow an expansion and contraction of your body. We're releasing tension from the inner hips. We read about the releasing of energy, the observing of where in the body needs energy to be released. Noticing where there might be stagnancy, tension, stress, emotion. And just allowing our yoga to gently work into those areas. It's normal for your mind to wander at the start of our class. Often, day-to-day life means that we can be a little bit more in that yang energy, the energy of doing, being active, movement, flow. So when we take that energy and place our body in this yin pose where we're still, where we're silent, where we're quiet, it can be a little bit uncomfortable It can feel like a juxtaposition. The mind can go faster sometimes. Sometimes the stillness highlights just how much movement there is within the energy, within the mind. We don't force the body, the brain, the mind, the emotions to be anything other than exactly as they are. However you've arrived is perfect. However you leave the class today is perfect. When you're feeling ready, we gently press and we come up nice and tall. Our next pose is both a counter pose and a pose in and of itself. We are going to push the bolster slightly away. You can use the blanket at any point over the body, but it's 30 degrees here, so I will not be doing that. So we can lower down with our chest or just under the chest onto the bolster and send the arms out in front. We could send the arms out in an active way if you need. Maybe we press into the arms, and the arms are the yang element of this pose. Or if you do feel comfortable to let every single part of your body relax, then we soften wherever we can. We breathe deeply. This is a lovely counter pose because we begin to target through the hips, tapping into the stomach meridian, the meridian that relates to joy, contentment, feeling satisfied. We also allow ourselves to begin to tap into the lumbar spine, which allows us to work on any stagnant energy within the urinary bladder meridian. These energies tend to relate to emotions of fear, money issues, feelings of worry about the future. Breathe deeply. We're working with compression and deep stretch stimulation through different areas of the body. The pelvis in general is quite targeted here, so sometimes people feel a little bit of a root chakra activation. Whatever you feel, wherever you feel it, make sure it's coming from a place of compassion. We don't want to push our body past its point of comfort. We're working with our body and its natural movement, never against it. We allow gravity to sink us down into the pose that is right for us today. Often when we practice yang yoga, we're working with the muscles of the body. We're thinking about potentially slowly progressing our flexibility. When we practice yin, we're not only working with the muscles, but also with the deeper yin tissues of the body, which focus more on the range of motion rather than flexibility alone. We do naturally increase our flexibility and range of motion when we practice yin because we're bringing more lubrication into the joints, we're bringing length into these deep connective tissues, the ligaments, the tendons. We're bringing strength to those areas too. We're releasing tension within the fascia. If I'm doing double snare, it all becomes much more loose, but only after that initial intensity. The intensity should never feel like pain or pinching or tightness or sharpness. It's an overall sensation of warmth or stretch or liquid or movement. Different poses will feel different on different days. Because our cards were talking a little bit about heartbreak and suffering, tapping into these areas such as the lumbar spine, the urinary bladder meridian might bring up some emotion. Especially when we are facing down, it's thought that the mind can often go to a place of introspection and go inwards, become more reflective. As always in yin, we are allowing, we are accepting, we're just observing. The cards talked about curiosity of what we observe, but in yin we do want to be a bit more passive. We're not asking questions. We're not trying to remember for later so we can analyze. We're not sticking a pin in the thoughts that do pop up. In yin, you are free from all responsibility to do anything at all. Thoughts that come in are not important. They do not demand your awareness. They don't demand your attention. Nothing is more important than you just being here and existing in the present. Allowing yourself to step out of your human needs, your human self, and into the fact that you're just a soul in a body. We show this body compassion and love. We do this through allowing the poses to be correct for us, not too intense, not too easy. Do this through slow breaths. And when we do move, slow movements. So we're going to draw the arms back, push yourself gently up and sink your hips all the way back towards your heels. Now, if you feel comfortable too, we are going to tuck the toes under and sink our hips all the way back like so. If you would like a little bit more restriction to your toes, relax down onto a bolster. The toe tuck is a lovely, lovely pose because we're targeting all 6 of the lower body meridians, 5 in the toes and 1 in the sole center of the foot. It's intense and it can be one of the hardest poses to relax down, to just allow gravity to sink you deeper, releasing every muscle in the body. It can be so tempting to keep resisting the pose, pushing the floor away. This is a lovely counter pose because we are allowing that length, not just through the back where we've just been targeting, but there's also length through both sides of the body. If you feel an ebbing and flowing of intensity, that normally means that the intensity will gradually dissipate and become more and more bearable, more and more enjoyable. If it feels as though it's only getting more intense, this probably means that somewhere in the body, the muscles are engaged and resisting the pose. It's often thought that it is the resistance to the pose that makes them feel uncomfortable. Similarly, when emotions arise, when thoughts pop in, it's our resistance or our attachment or our relationship with those things that makes them feel uncomfortable. In yin, we don't label good or bad. And this can be helpful with facing things like heartbreak and suffering. When things come up, we don't label correct or incorrect, us or not us, part of who we are, or something that we reject. This means that when emotions arise, not only are we not labeling good or bad, right or wrong, but because we have that lack of attachment, lack of detachment, they're just there. They just are in the present, part of your present moment. Then it takes some of the meaning, some of the attachment, some of the heaviness away from them as well. Makes it easier for them to arise. You create this safe haven on your mat where whatever needs to come into the light can, and we just observe it, free from judgment. When you're feeling ready, we untuck our toes and we're going to shuffle gently round. Now, if you do have a book or a block or anything like this, then we can lift up our bolster or our pillow and place our block near the end, like so. So the bolster itself is on a little bit of an angle. Okay. Sit the hips right to the edge of your bolster. The feet come together. Hands come down by your side. And we release the spine onto the bolster. Now, our cards were talking a lot about love and light. Therefore, we are going to tap into the heart and lung meridians by gently releasing your arms back, bringing a lightheartedness, tapping into your love center. Soften your face. Soften the target area. Soften every muscle in your body that feels okay for you to do so. If you find this is too intense when you soften the target area, you can absolutely prop the upper outer thighs onto a block or a rolled up blanket, anything that feels right for you. In this pose, we are targeting the heart and lung meridians as mentioned, but we're also targeting the liver and kidney, stomach and spleen meridians through deep stretch, through compression. Depending on where you personally have tightness, you'll feel this pose differently. And depending on where you have potentially some stagnant energy, where energy might need to be released, you might feel this pose differently week on week, month on month. When I was new to yoga or yin, this pose was incredibly powerful in terms of emotional release. And the inner and outer hips are targeted here, which is why it was so powerful. Often we hold very long held emotions in these areas. And then sometimes the more we practice yin, we're constantly releasing. So we're just building up throughout the week and releasing away through our weekly practice or daily practice, whatever you have. So you might find what you're letting go of doesn't feel quite as heavy, doesn't feel quite as attached, because we've worked through that over the years. If you ever do find that you tap into an emotion in yin, particularly one of heartbreak or suffering, you might find that your body reacts in an emotional way. Maybe you cry, but you might not feel sad. It might feel more cathartic than anything. Often the body is holding on, but the mind can't always remember to what. That's why these deep stretches, these weekly releases, or maybe monthly, it depends on what you can squeeze into your schedule, are so important. Just showing your body that compassion, that perfect balance between gentleness and compassion and discipline. When you're ready, we draw the feet a little bit wider. We draw the knees together and just slowly make your way off the bolster. We always want to move as slowly as we can in yin. Okay, so next we're going to draw the top of our thigh to the bolster and the knee to the sole of the foot. So you have this square. Now, I'm going to show you two options here. Sleeping deer is one, which might be preferable for our theme, just because we do get that nice twist, which allows us to release, and we did talk about the releasing of energy. However, if you find sleeping deer uncomfortable, which some people do, then you can take ekapad or our sleeping pigeon instead, sleeping swan. So, if we're in our sleeping deer, we gently relax our heart space down and come into this lovely twist. If you are a little bit more practiced, then you might send that leg back a little bit for a more intense sensation through the hip flexor, through the stomach and spleen meridians. And you do tend to feel some little bit in kidney meridians area as well. However, if this feels too much, then instead of the top of your thigh, it will be the top of your shin. We are more forward facing, we're squared off with the hips, and you can relax like this instead. So do what feels right for you. Sleeping swan or sleeping deer, both are amazing for releasing tension from the outer hips, the inner hips, through deep stretch, through compression. And one allows us to gently stimulate through the gallbladder meridians as well. The meridians are derived from traditional Chinese medicine theory, the notion that there are ley lines or channels of energy that flow through your whole body. And I always envision them as looking like the roots of a tree, sort of traveling, branching off. Each is aligned or assigned a different emotion, and these emotions exist on a spectrum. Because in yin we are not labeling, we're not deciding, we're not judging. The spectrum isn't positive emotions to negative emotions. It's just a range of different emotions. So we're just aware. The goal is not to feel the happiest all the time. It's just to allow ourselves to feel the entire spectrum of emotion. To feel what is appropriate. It's thought that when we have stagnant energy that needs to be released, We can feel cut off from certain emotions, and we can feel excess of certain emotions. We don't want either of those. We would like to be in the middle. We're not aiming for perfect permanent happiness, we're aiming for peacefulness. We're aiming for the ability to be human, to feel at full range. We are fully divine and fully human. When you're feeling ready, we make our way gently up. We're going to make our way onto the other side. Move as slowly as you can, as mindfully as you can. Good. Okay, so if we're in our sleeping swan, the top of the thigh comes to the base of the bolster. The base of the foot comes to the top of the knee. If you are feeling comfortable too, you can send that leg right back. We twist and we lower. We hug the pillow or bolster for a little bit more nurturing, more restoration, more of a hug. If we are in our sleeping swan, it is instead the base of your shin, the top of your shin, like so, and the hips square off to face down. Because this is not yang, we don't need the hips perfectly squared off. The notion is, in yin yoga, the poses work around you and your body. You don't work around the pose. There is no specific aesthetic of the pose that you need to achieve. It's all about what feels right for your body. And over the years, what feels right will become glaringly obvious. When we first start yin, the sensations can feel really intense, and the ability to relax physically is often not as easy because we're still sussing out what sensations feel correct and what sensations are too much. We're also working around potentially more tension deep within the body. So at the start, yin can be really, really intense. We often find that the muscles will be switched on and resisting. And that's normal, that's okay, that's fine. Yin takes time. Similarly to how at the start of every practice, shifting into that yin-like state can feel uncomfortable. The shifting of energy, the slowing down of the mind. Any changing of state naturally does feel a little bit uncomfortable, and there will be a little bit of resistance. And the same can be said for the whole of your yin journey across the years from start to finish. Often we are conditioned to feel as though we need to be productive, we need to be moving, we need to be going. But in the stillness, where we're able to just look inwards and observe, like shining a spotlight on the inner workings of the mind and the body, the emotions, the energy, and how they all intertwine with the breath. When we're here in stillness, is when we find what we've been looking for in the yang state. When we relax enough to allow life force to just flow to us and through us. Being passive is often viewed in a negative way, just allowing and accepting. But it is so needed. The art of surrender, the art of just existing and being. It's never a bad thing to just allow yourself to do nothing, intentional nothingness. Intentional silence and stillness. Because of Yin's highly meditative nature, we often leave the mat being more okay with silence and stillness. Just as the poses start off feeling intense and uncomfortable and gradually become more and more enjoyable to the point where we don't really want to leave the poses. The same is often said for Yin itself. At the start, the silence can feel like something we need to feel. The stillness can feel like something we need to fidget through. And the practice can often feel as though something we need to be more about fitness or more about progression or flexibility. But the deeper we go into practice, the more enjoyable it feels, the more natural it feels, the more needed it feels often. And we often come away from our practice being okay with stillness and silence, seeking less external distraction. You might find that you reach your phone less. You might walk down the street and find that you don't habitually or intuitively put your headphones in. Often that presentness just feels a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more natural because we shifted into that state. Okay, when we're ready, we come up. We're going to shift our bolster away, like so. And we're coming onto our back, like so. So we're going to send our right leg long and our left leg comes up towards us. We're going to hook the biggest left toe, and this might naturally feel way too much, and that is okay. And so you could draw your right leg into a bend, and equally you could hold the back of the thigh if that feels too intense as well. If you have a belt nearby, that could be a proper belt or even just a dressing gown belt, you could hook that around the foot and pull your foot closer. So do what feels right for you here. Heart happy baby. If you do have the bent right leg, then you can allow it to fall outwards if that feels natural for you. If it's elongated, then allow that foot to fall outwards. Just allow the pose to begin to feel really comfortable. Wherever gravity lowers you down to is your perfect version of this pose for today. There is no correct aesthetic. Allow a heaviness in the hips. And the shoulders. In the back. In the face muscles. Each time you find your mind beginning to wander, give yourself permission to return to present. This is your quality time with yourself where you get to exist and observe, where you don't have to do anything at all. You don't have to be anything other than exactly as you are. You don't have to change. You are perfect exactly as you are in the present moment. Nothing is being asked of you. We don't see ignoring the thoughts or pushing the thoughts away or pulling them in as not allowed. So to rephrase that, rather than seeing the thoughts as something that are bad and we need to just resist them, we see the thoughts as something that just are. They're part of your present moment experience. Rather than seeing the non-responding to the thoughts as a discipline, it can be helpful to reframe it as a compassion. So a way of being kind to yourself, giving yourself the permission to not have to respond. I often find that quite helpful. When you're feeling ready, we send both legs long. We're just going to rest here for around 30 seconds, just allowing both sides of the hips to come to. Observe how they feel next to one another. Observe if there is any natural movement in any of the chakras. Sometimes you might feel a little bit of a whirring in the center of the pelvis, maybe the sacral. When you're feeling ready, as slowly as you can, we draw the right leg up towards us. We take the fingers to the big toe and we make the pose our own. So that could look like this. That could be with a belt. Could have the leg long, whatever feels right. And it doesn't matter if the pose does not look the same on one side as it does on the other. You might find on one side the sole of the foot wants to shine up and on the other side it faces forwards. That's fine. On one side the knee might fall super wide and on the other it's more up towards the shoulder. We don't want to encourage the body into a different shape. We just follow its natural cue. Wherever it falls to is where we stay. As long as it's free from pain, free from any pinching or sharpness. We always want that lovely overall sensation of stretch, compression, that we allow ourselves to fall deeper into. Allow your breath to be deep and nourishing. Allow your body to be heavy, relaxed and soft. Each time the mind wanders, give yourself permission to not have to respond. We don't push the thought away. We don't pull the thought in. We observe it. And then we shift our awareness back to the sensations that we feel within the body. The breath that we're taking, the gravity, the hard ground, and the body all working together to create your perfect version of this pose in the moment. When you're feeling ready, we release the step away and send it long. So the reason that our meditative practice of yin yoga can feel a little bit more accessible sometimes than pure meditation where you're just sitting there is because we do have the physical sensations as a bridge back to present. They keep grabbing our attention and allowing us to notice when the mind has wandered. And it also gives us an anchor that we can focus on. So not only does it pull us out of mind wandering, but it also gives us a focus to shift back to, like the breath. However, it can be also more challenging sometimes than seated meditation, where we are just focusing on the breath, because we are constantly releasing emotion from the body. We're tapping into areas that may have held quite deep-rooted emotion for a long time. So when we have these thoughts or feelings arise that feel super intense or important or attached, the ability to shift our mind away from those can be more challenging. So it's both more accessible and more challenging in some ways. Therefore, we're always compassionate to ourselves when we notice that the mind has wandered. Okay, when you're feeling ready, we're going to draw our arms wide, legs are long, hips are heavy, reshuffle a bit, and allow yourself to come into your perfect version of Savasana. Your perfect version feels comfortable and easy, heavy, spread out so that you can feel the energy that we've been stimulating and targeting throughout today's practice coursing through your body. Allow your awareness to be with your breath. The rising and the falling of the chest, the expansion and contraction of the belly and the diaphragm. The whole body moving whilst you're completely still. If you feel comfortable to close down the eyes, observe the heaviness of the eyelids, soften the brows, relax any tension from the jaw, release the shoulders. The back body falls heavily into the mat beneath you. Our cards spoke about the wisdom within us, trusting the answers we find within ourselves, trusting our intuition to guide us throughout our practice, respecting the wisdom within the gut, within the body, within the silence. The cards spoke about suffering and heartbreak. How heartbreak can be seen as an opportunity to expand. We recognize suffering in order to alchemize it and move through it. We use our breath to breathe through emotions that arise. Just as we work through the intensity of the poses, we breathe through the intensity of any shifts, emotions, or thoughts that arise throughout your meditation. Anything that arises in the silence, we allow ourselves to witness as if we're shining a spotlight on what may have been hidden in the darkness. What we shine our spotlight on takes up less space within us. We don't need to do anything. We don't need to release away. We don't need to reject. We don't need to respond. We simply observe, passively, quietly, as if you're watching a stranger talking. We're free from judgment, free from attachment. We observe everything with an element of compassion and with unlimited love. Often these answers within us are referred to as soul whispers, quiet knowing. When these soul whispers arrive, we can differentiate them from other thoughts or feelings because they're rooted in pure love. And as we're closing out our practice, I'll leave you with the intention from our book pulling of Akalanda. Everything happens for my liberation. I choose to become only more love. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day. Thank you for practicing with me. Namaste.